Good afternoon and welcome to We Believe Newsbreak. We're glad you're joining us today. We're broadcasting from our We Believe studios in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. And we just had quite a storm down here, so we're glad we can have the, with a tornado warning along with it. So we're glad that that seems to have passed for right now, and we're able to broadcast the show this afternoon. And our programs are available on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Roku TV. And of course, at all the time on our own platform here at WeBelieveDigital.com. So now might not be the perfect time for you to watch the show, but it's available on demand when it fits with your schedule. So we encourage you to go back if you're not able to make a live show on any given day. And alongside in the co-pilot's chair today is Mr. Socrates Garrett. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Chris. It's always good to be in the studio with you.
Yes, sir. And we've got some I feel the same way. We've got some topics to talk about today, and we sure lucked out with that storm for starters.
Well, we did. I actually got caught in that storm. I was trying to get to the bank. It's Friday, and on Fridays, when you're an entrepreneur, it's important that you get to the bank. Mm-hmm. And so I got caught in the storm, and then I decided not to stay in my truck because I normally just go through the drive-in teller. But because of the storm and the activity and the gust of the wind, I decided it would be safer to go inside the bank. Mm-hmm. And so I spent the duration of the storm in the bank.
And I bet you they were glad to have you.
They were. I hadn't been in there in a long time because, when they went to the remote tellers outside, it's so convenient just to drive by and do your deposits, etc., mm-hmm. without going in the bank. And so I hadn't seen a lot of old friends in a long, long time. Mm.
I'm fogging up over here, Mr. Garrett. Well, so let's jump in with this ordinance going on in Jackson with the Jackson City Council. A proposal, an ordinance was drafted by one of the 7 council members in an effort to try to address the crime situation here in Jackson. And the ordinance, the essence of the ordinance, was to hold parents and guardians accountable when there's gun crimes here in Jackson. And so a subcommittee, I think I may have referred to it as an ad hoc committee before, but it's a subcommittee, a city council subcommittee. They discussed it and a week or so ago and decided to table it. There were a lot of issues, a lot of stakeholders to talk to, wanted to get some feedback from the ACLU, etc. And a lot of people had a lot to say about that draft ordinance. But yesterday it was brought back up as they promised it would be, and there were quite a few changes made, and it passed unanimously in the subcommittee. So next week on the 21st of June rather, it will be brought before the full council to discuss. Now, they don't plan to vote on it on the 21st, but they plan to bring it up for discussion. What say you, Mr. Garrett?
Well, I think it's an ordinance that is going to find some landfills, some mines. I think that there are some issues inside of that concept that just doesn't fly. Mm-hmm. We have difficulty now with broken families and homes and grandmothers trying to raise children and children being unruly, and current laws and policies that says that parents can't even spank or whip their children without being afraid that they will be accused of abuse in some way. And so this whole environment is just poison. The open carry laws, the children's defense issues that are out there, grandparents raising children, fatherless homes, and now you want to add on jail times and fines for those people who are doing their dead level best with these children.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing their dead level best with these children. Now, I was once a teenager, believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
and my parents, and this was years ago, it's not in this environment today, but my parents had no way of controlling my activities once I left that house.
Right, right.
Now, they might have been in control when they were in my presence,
Mm-hmm.
but once I was outside of their reach or their sight, then I became an individual that did whatever the hell he wanted to do.
And we had strict orders to be home by dark.
Be home by dark. But and so my parents could not be responsible for my acts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this is an ill-fated ordinance.
Well, we'll see. I mean, over the course of the coming weeks, there's going to be ample time for discussion, and people will bring things up. You know, this is Mississippi. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to have things to say about this. And you know, one of the things that's going to be said by people that, well, in my thought process, don't see the fullest picture, is that, well, look, if you can't control, because the shootings are happening with very young people, and they're going to say, well, you know, if you can't control these kids, well, we're going to do it for you. And I agree, it's just so terribly short-sighted because they're not taking into consideration the backdrop of everything else that's going on.
Right. And it's just a powder keg.
Yeah.
Imagine a scenario where a young white kid commits a crime here in Jackson, but his parents live in Rankin County. And imagine the police officers going out to Rankin County to arrest this white mom for something that her grandson did in Hinds County in an all-black city. And just imagine how that's going to play out.
Yeah, imagine if it was a black police officer delivering the news.
It's not going to go over very well. And then when you attempt to lock that person up, then hell's going to break loose. And then if you can't lock that person up, then how are you going to be able to lock anyone else up in the city? So it's a ill-fated, not carefully thought out ordinance that's got more trouble in it than good.
Mm-hmm. So we applaud the effort to try to take some kind of action, but the methodology is just not going to fly.
Right. I think it's very clear that tried and true concepts that have worked in other places could be applied. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a big proponent of the fact that maybe you can't control crime, but I can make it move. Mm-hmm. And I can make it move because every time you hit my streets with broken taillights, with anything that's unusual, then, you know, we're going to stop and we're going to talk to you and we're going to arrest people as we approach them, much like they did in New York City. Now, all of the issues of profiling will arise, all of the issues of police brutality will arise, and the citizens will be very disturbed by that. Mm-hmm. Just like they're going to be disturbed about this ordinance for locking up the parents. So there are some things here that we got to think our way through. Mm-hmm. Now, my suggestion to our city leaders would be that we take a good look at how we're funding the police department. I think on our last show or two, you were telling me that the police department is undermanned.
100 officers.
100 officers short. If you are, how many officers are on the street?
Yeah, I want to say 255.
So a third of your police department is missing. And I think that, you know, if we just get back to the basics inside of that, let's let the experts fight the crime with all of the weapons that they're trained to fight it with, and let the city council people be the legislative branch of controlling the budget inside of the city.
And another factor too, and we're really doing what we promised here at We Believe Newsbreak. We're trying to go a little bit deeper than you're typically going to see in the headlines and all. And I can't help but think about this Capital Complex Improvement District creating its own police force now. Now these are state positions, and guess what? The starting salary is higher than that for the so inside of Jackson, the Jackson Police Department has to fight to fill those vacancies, and they're fighting against, in a manner of speaking, against people in their own city that are going to be serving in their own city, but that are going to get a starting salary higher than what they can offer.
Yes, all kinds of issues are surfacing with this misaligned concepts of how we control crime and fight crime in our city. On a radio show last night on WMPR, a caller asked, if I were mayor, what would be the first thing I would do to fight crime? And I didn't get a chance to answer that. But I've always known exactly what that would have been.
Let's hear it.
And it would be to consolidate all law enforcement agencies within Hinds County.
Okay.
To have the 300 members of the Sheriff Department and the 300 members of the Jackson Police Department under one regime. And then to add on all other law enforcement agencies in the county that wants to participate, like MBN, Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics, a part of this team. And we put together the kind of law enforcement package that says that our numbers now go from 250 to 700. Even security guards at Jackson State University will be a part of my team.
So you do away with all those separate silos, which inherently bring more bureaucracy, and you eliminate all that, make it more efficient.
Eliminate all that, make it more efficient, but go expand it out even to include meter readers and the energy folk and the gas people that are out in these streets every day. They are in our communities every day. They should have direct link to 911. They should have an officer that they know is assigned to them in the area, so that when they see things, that we can immediately improve our response to it, and an improved response may circumvent some things from going so far. So I think those are the kinds of things we need to take a look at.
And we're coming up in a couple of minutes on a break and hear from our sponsors, but it's almost gotten to the point where I'm not sure I want to talk about any local issue without talking about the economics. We had this mass flight that began decades ago, this mass white flight, and these folks wanted to leave this beloved city of Jackson and move out to the suburbs where they've created vibrant communities out there. Now, what does that do for the economics? Because they take their dollars with them.
Yeah, and this is a free country. In America, everyone have the right to move and live wherever they choose to, and so the mere fact that white flight occurred, and Chris, I might add that black flight occurred as well, and what we have left is a city that has over 40% of its population, its remaining population, living below the poverty levels. And so the economy is something that is going to require just as much attention as the criminal aspect that we're dealing with now. We have to have the same focus and emphasis and plans and strategies on how we're going to fix the economy in our city.
We need an economic ordinance.
We need an economic ordinance. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Well, we're going to skip out now for a break, and we'll be right back with you.
Are you tired of living check to check and looking for residual income? We have just the opportunity for you. Join us on Saturday, the 25th of June in Jackson, Mississippi, as we discuss the sexiest industry in the world, travel. Let's turn your passion into profits, whether it's on a full-time or part-time basis. Please RSVP or text to 404-915-8626. We look forward to connecting and taking flight. See you soon.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. By using Socrates Garrett ENT.com's crushed concrete products, anyone from homeowners to general contractors can help reduce landfilled concrete waste, conserve natural resources, and gain significant economic savings on materials and disposal costs. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Welcome back to We Believe Newsbreak. Again, we're so glad you're joining us, and we thank you for paying attention to our sponsors' commercials. We Believe Digital Studios presents an amazing opportunity for you to advertise, and we have staff available to help assist you in putting together commercials to advertise your goods and services. We would love to be part of your marketing mix as you put your goods and services out there to the public and make them aware of what you have. And so please keep us in mind on that. You can always call us at 1-800-492-5186. Now that's our call-in number, but additionally you can reach us through that number in the event that you'd like to learn more about advertising on We Believe Digital. Well, welcome back, Mr. Garrett. We can go in any different direction at this point. Have you got a preference?
Well, there are so many things that needs to be discussed that's going on in Jackson, but the issue and the focus on crime and the murders that are happening every day is just creating the environment that is so toxic, because our state auditor has now come out and said that each murder in our city costs taxpayers over $100,000. I believe that's the number. Was it $1 million? Yeah. And so if the murders are costing our taxpayers $1 million, and last year we had 152 murders, then the citizens of Jackson cannot carry this burden. We can't carry the burden of the low tax base, can't fund the police department. You don't have the money to fix your infrastructure. Potholes and bad streets are running rampant in the city. Drinking water issues and an aging infrastructure is there that requires a lot of money. Consent decrees by EPA. Mm-hmm. And so all of these things are squeezing this community and this city, and the citizens just can't take much more, Chris. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're going to have to find a solution. Now, I always believe that solution is in the leadership, because the leadership offered itself up. Volunteered. To say that I can lead us through this crisis. Now, we need that to happen. Yeah. If that does not happen, Chris, I think it ought to be the same as it would be if you were the coach of the Boston Celtics. And if your key player is not stopping anybody or scoring,
take them out.
Take them out, Chris.
Take them out. And what's your sense of the void that would be created? Do you see, as a longtime resident here and a longtime business owner and community advocate, do you see that void would be filled? Do you see up and coming potential leaders that could be nudged to get out there on the campaign trail and give the voters a choice between what they might be seeing now, which sometimes looks a little stagnated, and something newer and fresher?
Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to go with the unknown. Because if you know what you're currently doing is not working, then you have to go with the unknown. And if you don't get it right the next time, then you have to quickly correct the situation.
Correction.
You have to constantly put forth and correct. It's the process. You see, one thing, Chris, that we mentioned earlier, there are no prison sentences for bankruptcy in America. There's no debtor's prison. It's designed so that you try, and if you get it wrong and you have to file bankruptcy, that you can start again and get it right. And so you're not sentenced. I can owe you $100 million in a bad business deal, and it's no criminal activity.
Get a redo.
I get to do a redo the next month. I could come back to you and say, Chris, I need to borrow another $1 million because I now have a better idea, as opposed to me saying I'm getting ready to be sentenced to prison because I owe Chris money. Now, the reason for that is so that our bright minds can take what we've learned and start over. It's to reward the risk takers.
And you think they're out there that would stand for counsel?
I do. I think that the youth, while youth is not an asset in a crisis management situation, but I think that if we can get them to listen to those that have gone before them and have seen these pitfalls and have studied what happened in Detroit and what happened in Gary, Indiana, if we take a look at those things, then we can come up with strategies and plans to circumvent the same demise for our city.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. Boy, when you start laying out that, you just have knowledge at so many layers to that, So, but gosh, I hope that's the case. And just an observation, because I've only been here a little over a year now, 15 months or so. But and I go to the city council meetings, I go to the board of supervisors meetings, and I don't mean it to be in a judgmental context. I suppose it is, but it just seems like there's a lot of dysfunction. I mean, when you've got people pushing chairs and yelling at other people, and in a public meeting like that, it just seemed like a lot of dysfunction. But lately, I'm getting the sense that despite the acrimony between some of those board of supervisors members, it appears that there might be some higher functioning going on over there. Have you got any observations on that?
Well, the only observation I would have is that the citizens are embarrassed.
Yes.
And if the citizens are embarrassed with the behavior of its elected officials that it submitted, the voters always correct themselves. Now, so we don't have to, think that we're in a situation that we can't turn around, because voters will correct themselves. And the perfect example for that would be when Mayor Harvey Johnson first came into office, and after 8 years, the voters were dissatisfied with him because basically he was too methodical and too slow on issues, according to the polls. And so the citizens elected brass young man Frank Melton, who did not have the same skill set, but he was an in-your-face kind of guy. I'll get everything done. I think his comment was to Harvey during one of the debates is that I can do more in 8 minutes than you've done in 8 years. Well, those kinds of sound bites sound good. And so he was off and running, and the citizens elected him as mayor.
Yeah.
After 4 years of his shenanigans,
Out.
the citizens said no more, and they corrected themselves and brought Harvey back.
Well, that was great to hear. And I hope when it comes down to that for these coming elections that the turnout was better than it was the other day, because they said statewide in Mississippi there's about a 10% turnout for the primaries.
Well, and again, voter apathy is not apathy as much as it is protests. You see, when a helpless people find themselves in a situation that they can't do anything about, and they've done all they know how to do. In the Bible, the song says, we just stand. We just stand. So when the voters have gotten to a point that they don't think they can fix the problem, they just stand. And it's some kind of passive aggressive protest that's going on. It's not voter apathy. It's emphatic of protest to what the leadership is doing. Now, there are some pitfalls with that. Who will be elected? Who then makes the decisions on who will be elected when the citizenry decides not to participate? And that's a dangerous part.
Question marks.
If only 10% of your population is required to get you elected into office, then anybody could get elected.
Anybody.
Anybody.
And in the last city council elections, I think the highest number of votes, I don't have it in front of me right this second, but as I recall, the highest number of votes anybody got was 1,500 votes. And there was some people that got in right about 1,000 votes. So, and we have 155,000 population here.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. It is so concerning. Even on delegates for the Democratic Party, you would have 2 or 3 people getting less than 50 votes to become a delegate. Sometimes less than 10 votes. Sometimes it's just one person sitting in the room. And so we are approaching an area where this democratic process is going to be challenged. It's going to be challenged every day. And so while we have elections, and we're in the middle of an election cycle, things are going to change. And Chris, the January 6 hearings that are going on now reflects that change, that underlying change that is trying to raise up and say that America can no longer be a democratic country. Democracy doesn't fit our population mix anymore.
Yeah, it's and it's manifested in several different ways. But boy, it was hard to watch that last night. I mean, my sense of right and wrong. There's just nothing right about all that. Nothing right about all that. Just wrong-headedness, and and people were injured and people suicided afterwards. Just a horrible situation. They're beginning to lay it out in graphic detail in primetime television.
Yeah, but it's who we are.
It is exactly who we are.
It is not who we wish we were,
Yeah.
but it represents who we are. And Chris, to get it out on the table, to get it out in plain view, is our best chance of correcting behavior. Behavior modification, in the Bible, it says, spare the rod and spoil the child. Behavior modification is required for children and adults. but we got to get it out on the table where we all can see it. And I think Congressman Thompson is doing a great job of that.
It's like an illusion to some extent. There's been some type of illusion, I think, on the part of lots of people that things were further on improved than they really are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, many folk thought we were in a post-racial society. we really want to be.
Yeah.
We really want to be there. Many of us, there are some that don't, but many of us really want to be in a post-racial society where you and I can sit down and negotiate and talk and conclude on what's really best for the whole.
For all of us. Yeah.
For all of us. And I hear you say that so often.
Yeah. And the last little thing I just wanted to mention, Juneteenth, the city, we have a lot of comments about the Jackson City Council, but yesterday or the day before yesterday, they adopted an ordinance to make Juneteenth an official holiday. And what's unique about that, of course, we did that nationally last year, but what's unique about that here in Jackson is that they have designated, the city of Jackson has designated that holiday will be celebrated in lieu of Confederate Memorial Day. See, in the state of Mississippi, Black History Month is not acknowledged by the governor of the state. And yet Confederate Memorial Day is acknowledged by the governor of the state. So you don't have to guess when you're in Mississippi. You don't have to guess too long to see where people's loyalties, where their heart is. And so this was a positive step, I believe, Mr. Garrett, on making Juneteenth an official holiday and doing so in lieu of Confederate Memorial Day.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's going to be it for today. Again, we thank you so much for tuning in. And again, you can go back at any time and watch these shows on demand. YouTube, Facebook, WeBelieveDigital.com. We're so glad you're joining us. We want to send a special shout out to the engineers in the back that make the show possible. We thank you again, and we wish you a good day and a safe day. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It's good to be in the studio with